Hello, and welcome to Cardinal Perspectives, an in depth conversation with alumni, students, faculty, and the extended community of the Catholic University of America. In today's episode, Juan C. Jones, Executive Vice President of Global Support Renewals at Oracle, joins Patrick Dwyer, Associate Vice President for University Advancement at Catholic University. Juan leads a global team responsible for $19 billion in annual billing through Oracle Premier support sales. His team manages complex and critical relationships with Oracle's largest and most strategic customers worldwide, helping them protect their Oracle investments through secure and trusted support services. Before joining Oracle, Juan held roles in enterprise sales in both Microsoft and IBM. He currently serves on the Board of Trustees at the Catholic University of America and the University of Rochester, where he leverages his expertise in customer relations to enhance the student experience. In addition, Juan is a member of the Simon National Council, where he advises school leadership on strategic initiatives and student engagement. He has also endowed scholarships aimed at increasing equitable representation of minority MBA students. Furthermore, he has served on the executive board of the Technology Services Industry Association. Juan holds an MBA from the Simon Business School at the University of Rochester and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Notre Dame. He and his wife Lisa have a son, Christian, who played baseball at the Catholic University of America and graduated in 2020. We hope you enjoy this engaging and insightful episode.
So, Juan, thank you again for being with us today. And we've had a little opportunity earlier today to talk through a few things. Wanted to get your perspective on, you're a member of our trusteeship. How did that come about? What drew you to it? Was there a moment in sort of yours and your family's experience or your own kind of personal journey? What drew you to joining the Catholic Youth Trusteeship?
Well, thanks for the question, Patrick. It's really been a journey. It's from the beginnings when we first came out here and discovered this amazing university that we didn't know anything about, being out in California. The whole thing has been a process. My initial engagements with you personally,
Yep.
other members of the community, it very much felt like a family to be part of Catholic. And everyone that has the blessings of being a part of a family knows that that is all about engagement and encounter. So we had a chance to be involved with the university as parents of a student. First and foremost, our son loved attending Catholic University, and that just brought us happiness as a family and a sense of passion about the university. And so we ended up being donors to the university. We were involved with Parents Council. So the university really called out to us. And I think a combination of our son being here, the sense of community, the people that we met, and wanting to really be a part of the journey, and ultimately, of course, the sense of mission that Catholic University has, not only to serve our students, faculty, staff, our Catholic community, but the nation and the world at large. So I think all of those things converged together, and I wanted to be a part of the success of Catholic University, helping it grow so that it wouldn't be a university that we hadn't heard of when we were in California, to the amazing heights that this university can achieve.
I've heard you talk even as recently as earlier today, about the emotional connection that you grow to develop in moments over time. Is there a specific are there specific moments that you could draw from as you think about, because the Parents Council work that you and Lisa were involved in was great. Your active participation on the Athletics Board of Visitors, amazing. But trusteeship, there's a different level of ownership and accountability, and how much did emotion play into kind of how you've gotten to where you are with us?
Well, I think emotion played a huge role. I think anytime anyone is engaging someone, we find it in our faith, we find it in encounter with people. And I think the first thing that drew us to Catholic the most was the people that we met.
Sure.
And that was everyone, whether it was, dining hall staff and the passion and emotion they had to be part of Catholic, or there's the professors, our athletics coach, in the case of baseball, Coach Natoli, who was just, you don't get any more raw emotion than that man.
No.
And it happened, it happened with you. It happened across the board for us. I mean, we really felt a sense of community and a sense of family here. And I think when someone feels that emotional connection to anything that we do in life, I think you take all those things, put them together and sort of have, the grace of God as kind of a flashpoint to ignite that passion that's inside us.
Yeah.
And it's what really drew us here. And it's what really drew me to commit to being a trustee, because I think this institution is so important and it has so much potential. And I've seen that potential realized since our son first came to the university in 2018, since we came to see it in 2017. And losing track of time to have my years right. I think it was even earlier than that, actually, because he graduated in the class of 2020, so it was before then.
Right.
But it's really been an amazing journey that the university has been on, right? And I wanted to be a part of that journey.
What are a couple of those points of transformation that jump out to you, one or two, even in the 8 years since Christian stepped onto campus for the first time? What have you seen?
Well, I've seen growth in. You can certainly see growth walking around campus, just in the physical plant.
Yeah.
Right. New buildings, that we've opened up. The Conway School that we're in, which is state of the art, amazing for any nursing student, or any prospective student in the nation. If they come visit this building,
I want to be a nurse. I want to go back.
Me too. They're gonna. You're just awed by it. I mean, it's amazing infrastructure.
Yeah.
Thanks to wonderful, donations from, Bill Conway, his wife and family and others that contributed to it. So I think the campus has grown organically. You see that just walking around the campus. Garvey Hall, a wonderful dining facility that the students have. Improvements in the athletics fields, near and dear to our heart, with our son, playing baseball.
With much gratitude.
Yes, which we were delighted to be a part of. So I think we've seen it in the physical. We continue to see it in the students that come here, right? Those that choose Catholic University, just the richness of the individual students, what they bring to the table, who they are. It's been a pleasure and a privilege for our family to have, my niece come to Catholic, and she's actually going to be graduating this year.
It's hard to believe.
And that's part of all that energy. I mean, we wanted her to come here. We encouraged her to the degree that we could, of course. She's the one that chose to do so. But, there were various points in time, the passion that our son had, for baseball and what he experienced and being a part of those games, that energy, participating in parents' council and the camaraderie and friendship with other parents, dealing with some of the students that I mentor, one of the students here today, just personally.
Yeah.
And it just, the people really are the ones that make this, campus what it is. And I think our faith is, over all of that. And when you combine those things together, how could you not want to be a part of taking this university, to the next level?
I'm with you, but I'm biased, right? How about, so your role on the board, how have you found that your professional background has kind of shaped what you feel like you've been able to contribute to your membership on the trust?
Well, I think I've been in I'm in a service role in my company professionally, in the services business. And, you're always focused on the customer and you're focused on outcomes. And what a better place to focus on, the quote unquote customer in the sense of the student,
right?
And and the student experience. So student affairs was something that I immediately gravitated to. And it was funny, 5 minutes after I joined student affairs, I was asked to chair student affairs. So I think my sense of service, uh, my sense of focusing on outcome based results, on wanting the young men and women that choose this university, and in a sense, it chooses them to have a great experience here, and to listen to them and understand what their needs are. I found that from my business career, being an active listener is critical to understanding exactly what people are looking for, what they're trying to effectively communicate, and taking that listening, internalizing it, and then taking action as a result. So it's been a good marriage of my professional career with, the things that I've worked on here at the university. And, I will say, as it relates to advancement, I love to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I have a background in selling. So I have had the pleasure of going out and actually, meeting with our prospective donors, and getting some wonderful contributions from them, and then seeing their donations and their passion actually realized. We have a wonderful project going on in baseball, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
in the Diamond Project, and I've had a chance to fly out and meet with some of our prospective donors and help make that happen. So I find that to be fun, and I see our university continue to grow as a result.
Well, I mean, to the point you were making earlier, you like doing it. You're pretty good at it too, right? You're tapping into a skill set. So I think you're serving us and how we learn from you. Um, what about and maybe a little introspection here? What lessons have you learned on your during your time as a trustee?
Well, it has been interesting as a trustee. I mean, you realize the amount of constituents that a university has. It's a complex environment. You are trying to serve so many audiences, and making sure that you can harmonize those audiences, and achieve the goals that you believe are best for the students, the entire university community, the university itself, if you will. You realize that is a complicated task, and uh, and given this university's unique role as the bishop's university, ensuring that everything that we do has our mission and our Catholic faith at its core, while we're welcoming, right? While we are welcoming to, you know, others that are not Catholic, um, but that believe in our values, share our sense of community, share our sense of humanity, share our sense of purpose, you know, goals that as human beings we all share or should share
Sure.
together. And so I think that gives us an opportunity to, I heard from one of the bishops at one point saying, the Catholic Church should propose, not impose,
Hmm.
right? And I think we have a very strong value proposition, and it's all of our responsibility to make people aware of it, and to help all of our fellow brothers and sisters in any way that we can. So if we create a welcoming environment here at Catholic, folks are exposed to the tradition that we have in our church, and to the mission. I think it can help our community grow.
Sure. Sure. So I want to shift gears a little bit to some more kind of programmatic work we're doing. You speak to our efforts, and you talked about some times where you actually hit the road with us, and we're engaging some of our alum, either on donor projects or otherwise. We're trying to do more of that, right? We're trying to bring more people into our spheres. We're trying to connect with people more through our alumni engagement efforts and otherwise. We have a relatively new program, the Cardinal Ambassador Program, which which is really geared towards kind of establishing better partnerships internally between admissions and alumni relations and development. How does a program like that, from your perspective, how does it support our current initiatives and overall mission? And as you see it, how can people get involved in it?
Well, I think Cardinal Ambassadors is an exciting program. First of all, I love the formalization of the structure,
Hmm.
right? To create something that is holistic. It's not just an alumni, office, right? Or which of course is critical. But I think the holistic approach of, you know, evangelizing the university, if you will,
Yeah,
right? And using that function and bringing across the various disciplines and the various participants to become a part of it. And everyone, if you're proud of something, you often, you want to talk about it, you want to share it with others, right? You want to be, in effect, an ambassador, right? And you're that instantiation of someone who is representing the university, representing all of the good things about the university, and getting the word out, and doing that in an interdisciplinary sort of way across functions. I think it's not just the advancement team trying to do advancement, right? It's all of us within Cardinal Ambassadors and beyond. But I think having that cadre, that core group, and giving it a structure, giving it a voice, giving it a set of course, goals
sure.
that it has, right, to achieve, um, I think is critical, because as we grow those ambassadors, as people, experience their engagement with the ambassadors and go, hey, I want to be one of those folks too, right? I want to evangelize this university, talk about everything that it does, help it grow, help raise funds, help drive more alumni engagement, help drive more engagement within the community. I mean, it's across so many dimensions. And I think you need to harness all those things together to drive, substantial, enduring, growth, and then have, in essence, strength in numbers, if you will.
Sure. I mean, I think, just as I see it, or from our perspective, it's that buy. It's empowering people to get bought in real ways, right? To
Right.
take something they might have been thinking about doing, off to the side, and say, no, actually, we can galvanize here,
And
right?
get them to take action,
Yeah.
right? Get them to take action. Get them to donate. Time, treasure, right? Experience, expertise that they have. Really get people engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the biggest. I'll go back to that word, encounter, right? That is, we see Christ in encounter. We see the best of all of us when we reach out and engage someone. I love it in advancement when we create emotional connection,
Hmm.
right? We create emotional connection around passion, and then we get someone to execute against that passion,
Hmm.
right? And give those funds to something that they're passionate about, that they believe in, that is going to help the university grow, and be successful, beyond today. That can be, their legacy at the university, if they chose to do so, right? And so I think I like Cardinal Ambassadors as kind of a nexus and sort of a core to help, foster that growth, and to drive it in a consistent, repeatable. It's use some of my business terms, right? But
Yeah.
a repeatable, consistent, scalable sort of way, right?
Sure.
So I'm really excited about the program.
Well, and then the other byproduct, which is great, is hopefully it feeds things like our immediate, growing our enrollment and bringing new students to Catholic University and promoting that sense of the next generation. So
Exactly,
the next
right?
generation of Cardinals.
Exactly. I mean, that's without having this program. That is why I spent time recruiting, my niece.
Yeah. Yeah. You were the first ambassador, I think. It was just a lowercase a at that time.
I had a chance to recruit in California, Samantha Haydari, the daughter of one of our administrators that I worked with. This lovely woman, Gina, and she was talking about her daughter going to college, in the Bay Area. We're just talking in the office, and I'm like, you should look at Catholic University. I mean, it's an amazing, institution. She didn't know anything about it. their family came out, and Sam recently graduated from the university. So I think we just need to continue to do that, and doing things in a one-off fashion, right? Getting my niece, getting a colleague's daughter to attend is one thing, but Cardinal Ambassadors as a program, again, we want to take advantage of scale, right? We want to get the word out across the board.
Absolutely. So you've touched on some already, and maybe if you wouldn't mind going a little deeper, the role that faith or spirituality play in your own life and how you lead and how you make decisions. If you wouldn't mind.
Well,
exploring that.
I think faith is it's a very personal, it's a very personal thing, and all of us are called, in different ways. I think we have to open our hearts to listen. We have to, explore sort of within ourselves, um, and then we have to act, as people. Um, I have, I grew up Catholic. My mother was from a small town in Spain. My dad was Southern Baptist. So we were. My dad was always, good enough to take us to church every Sunday, and him as a Southern Baptist with his three Catholics, my mom, myself, and my sister. And I think we go through a journey where sometimes spirituality for me has fluctuated. I've been into it more, sometimes into it less, sometimes just probably too busy, with day-to-day life, and not taking the focus that I probably should have taken. But I will tell you that coming to Catholic, with our son's experience, really awakened the faith in me. And so it's been a regenerative experience from the sense of my own faith, being here, what I feel when I'm on campus. I know we happen to share the same parish, since I moved out to the DC area. I go to church every Sunday, and I am not a holier than thou. I'm better than any. It has nothing to do with that, but it sort of woke something, back up inside of me that was, I'll say, a bit dormant, and I kind of had an awakening. And Catholic University, really was the trigger to that.
Yeah.
And so that has been it's been exciting for me personally, and it's been very spiritually, rewarding, to awaken that which has always been, inside me.
Hmm.
And the institution has provided me with that. So I have found that to be very, very rewarding for me,
Sure.
personally, in my faith, and how I try to touch others, with the attributes of, being a good, decent person, and everything else that sort of comes along with it. And so, Catholic University is, although I was not a student here and parent of a student, it's very much sort of recharged, my faith, if you will, and the sense of mission is probably stronger than ever as a result.
Yeah, it comes through. It's pretty awesome. Um, you and Lisa, with your philanthropy, have invested significantly in this place. You talked a little bit about the projects you've supported, right? I mean, the Diamond Project and a few others. Why'd you choose Catholic? Why do you all prioritize Catholic University from a philanthropic perspective?
Well, we made Catholic our number one, priority from the philanthropy of our family, really because of the people that we've encountered here and the sense of mission that Catholic has. Um, Buildings are buildings, structures are structures. Beautiful campuses, beautiful. There are lots of beautiful places to see this sort of greenery and these sorts of buildings in DC. But it's really the people, and you hear some of this as I'm starting to get well into my age now, but you hear these things when you're younger, and the people are the ones that make a difference. The people are our greatest asset. What makes this is the people. Well, it turns out that was all wisdom. And that is in fact true. And so what we found here is, again, the sense of community, the sense of family, a sense of belonging, um, and a welcoming, you know, institution, and then a place where we decided, you know what, let's do what we can. Let's pitch in, because I come from a military community background where everyone, no matter who they are on a common sense of purpose, common sense of mission, and everyone plays their role on the team. And I happen to love sports, which, as you know, Catholic University sports
Absolutely.
as well. And so it's, we felt like we could contribute and help make a difference, for, in the case of our project, future generations of Catholic University baseball and softball, players, and help make an impact there. And then use that to help recruit other students, not just that are playing those sports, because those fields, now that they're lit, they're used at night by kids that want to go out and play frisbee or do whatever they want. Just come together, have a good time, do some recreation, and so we thought we could make a difference there, help do our little part to help make the university a better place, and to foster that community, right? Because a community needs to be fed. It needs investment. It needs to grow, right? We are focused here on trying to make this a good place. If we can recruit in that sense, and we can help enrollment, with athletics, we want to do that because we want it to be a viable, sustainable, institution. So we really felt that comfort. We felt so welcomed, and simply put, we just wanted to do our part where we could help.
Well, I say it often how grateful we are. Um, let me. This is more mechanical, but it relates to a conversation we had earlier today, and I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about your sort of journey as a donor to Catholic University or otherwise, and the things you wish you maybe knew a little earlier on in the game that you didn't.
Sure.
But you found out, and if maybe you were talking to a previous version of yourself as a donor, what are some of the mechanisms or opportunities that donors have to give in more creative ways?
Sure. Well, I think I think if I could go back in a little bit of a time machine, I'd say, you can, when you're a donor, you don't realize how many ways there are to donate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll focus, for a sec financially. You certainly don't donate donate your time, as well as other things, your expertise, your wisdom. There are lots of things you can donate. It's across lots of dimensions. But if you focus on financially, I'd say, first of all, I thought I didn't know every donation matters. I think sometimes you think, oh, my donation may be too small.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, because you read about some of these donations that make the headlines, so to speak, and you go, boy, these are tens of millions of dollars, or what? These are major things that isn't in our economic scope. But I think I found out several things. One is I found out donations can be, you can commit to pledge a number, and then you can pay it over time, almost in installments, if you will, right? So you could, just a simple one, you could have a $3 million donation or a $300,000 donation. You could do it over 3 years,
Yep.
right? And so you're doing, your commitment is the entire thing, and then you're doing it, in 3 payments,
Sure.
or it could be 4 payments. These things can apply to smaller donations as well as the largest ones. So paying in payments, I thought it was, you had your after-tax income, and then you wrote a check for the whole thing.
Right.
I just literally did not know how that worked. So that's one thing. Another thing is, I did not know about appreciated stock, and being able, if you happen to be a person that has stock or RSUs or stock options or whatever, where your stock can appreciate you can gift that stock at the appreciated amount. Catholic University receives it at that amount without, an additional tax.
Hmm.
And you, the donor, get the tax write-off for, the appreciated value of the stock without having to pay capital gains on that. That can be very significant. And that ended up working out, coincidentally, that model ended up working out for our family.
Sure.
I didn't know about that, like, at all. So I think it's important for folks to know that, the various ways they can give. Leaving a gift in your estate plan.
Hmm.
I learned about that from, one of my fellow Board of Visitors colleagues, Vinny, and, who's also a trustee.
Yes.
That, he gave a gift in his estate plan, a very, very, very generous gift. So, you come to find that it's not just, well, how much cash do you have in your checking account,
Sure.
and then being able to write a check. There are these various ways to give, and in these various schedules that you can use to give that will work in your family's financial plan. So those would be some of the key things. But I will go back to, giving. If your gift is $500, $1,000, you give that gift sort of year in and year out. You can't believe how much the university, appreciates that. That's a gift that's consistent, dependable. It helps the university, but it helps across so many dimensions. So every one of those gifts matters. And the journey for us, in working with you, which you did a wonderful job, collaborating, really, because I think it was really a collaborative
It's a partnership.
effort. It is a partnership. With our family is I think our first couple of gifts were $10,000 gifts, and then we ended up giving $100,000, and then we ended up giving a couple $1,000,000 for a project, right? So I think, and that was all collaboration, partnership, working together, luck and good fortune, included as part of that. But that was a journey, and that was all of us getting to know each other, working together, faith and encounter and mission, and then the convergence of all of that, with God's blessing, and it's been a great journey.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I just the previous Juan Jones would have thanked you too, right? To know some of those things, because I think you're probably one of a number of people who don't recognize that there are some pretty creative vehicles out there to make pretty significant impact.
Yeah, I think it's important to educate folks on what those vehicles are, because growing up a lower middle class kid, and scraping through to get to college, and then going to graduate school on a full scholarship, I didn't have any of that in my background, so I've had to learn that along the way. So I think one of the important things for the advancement function in particular to do is to educate our community on what these things are and how these things work, so people are aware of them, know them, understand them, and then see what might fit best for them.
Couldn't agree more. So Christian's a Cardinal, proud class of 2020. What has it meant to you and to Lisa? You maybe won't speak directly for her, but you've certainly got a sense for what it means to the two of you to see your son's experience at Catholic. And, did having that close personal connection change your perspective? I can't imagine it didn't feed it, but your perspective on your work with the university.
I definitely did. Christian loved his time at Catholic. He, there isn't, so to speak, a day or maybe a week that goes by that he's not referring to something in baseball or something just about being on campus or
leading the charge at the basketball game.
Leading the charge at being as rowdy as he could be at the basketball games, and just the community that he found here. And that was from a kid that grew up in California, in the Bay Area, And the 4 years that he was at Catholic, we were living in California. Um, and he just felt, he felt so welcome. He wasn't homesick, which we were a little bit worried about,
Uh-huh.
at first. And he was embraced, you know, by the university, by his friends, colleagues, everything else is just like any other. He happens to be a person of color, like I am, but just like any other student, he ended up loving it here. So he had a great experience, and for my wife Lisa and I, obviously having a child, so far away, when it's a 5.5, 6 hour plane ride from the Bay Area to be able to get out here, you're entrusting, the university with having an environment, fostering an environment and having an environment and delivering upon that, where a student is going to feel safe, and secure, comfortable being whomever that person is, whomever they may be, uh, and being in a place where they're enjoying themselves, getting a good education, and in the case of Catholic, feeling the sense of mission that any individual, again, which is an individual experience, may or may not feel, depending on how they're touched. But it was very significant that he felt, that way out here, warm, welcome, safe, uh, and trusted, uh, that he felt joy, that he felt the challenge of academics, when they're challenging times for him. We wanted him to be challenged. We wanted him to be at a good school, where he was learning things that he was going to be able to apply, post graduation, and he's in effect done that.
Hmm.
He's been working since he graduated, um, and so that, a place like that is going to create a comfort in a parent, and if you're blessed with being able to bring things to the table, as a parent, you're able to do. My folks could have never done that. They were blessed in many ways, not in financial ways, but if you are, and you have the opportunity to participate in those ways and others, like with your time, I'm amazed how much time I end up spending, working on Catholic University matters. It's a lot of fun. It is neat to engage with clergy at the level that I get to engage with. I mean, what a privilege! Not something I would ever expect to engage with bishops and cardinals, um, priests across the board, sisters. It's just a wonderful, wonderful way to engage. But it was rooted in our son as a student, um, and the wonderful experience that he had here. And boy, how could we continue that? For my niece,
Sure.
in having that sort of environment that she's enjoyed, and others.
I've heard you talk some, maybe if you wouldn't mind elaborating a bit on the type of place that you hope for him, for his alma mater, right? The type of place that you're trying to set it up to be, so that, when he's a little older, he looks back on it and thinks, any comment you might have on that?
Yeah, I just think I think this place has. I've always thought, since the moment I first came here, I said, "Oh my goodness!" It was discovery of what this jewel, was and is, and then you think, and what it could be. Um, and what it could be across the dimensions of, the physical plant that we have, right, in our buildings and sports fields, and our classrooms, and everything else. Our location in the nation's capital. I mean, what a wonderful place to be able to go back to, when you've graduated from here. You're how can you not pass through the capital of the United States and visit, the school that you went to?
Yeah.
which is amazing. I went to a school in the Midwest. There was a great Catholic school. I just don't get out there that often. I don't find myself in South Bend and visiting, Notre Dame.
Sure.
You can easily find yourself in Washington, D.C. and visiting the Catholic University of America. Our sense of mission in the world, I think, in a volatile, rapidly changing world that is just going through so much, the stability, consistency, and continuity of our faith, I think, can be a lifelong pillar for people to lean on. And I think the students that come out of here that go off and make an impact, people like yourself, that go off and make an impact on others. I think that's really the most important thing, right? Is again, being a business person, the product that you deliver, right? That outcome, the results that you see, that go off into society and contribute in so many different ways, that we see Catholic University, graduates, folks that I, ended up meeting over time in the Bay Area, the governor of New York, you can just name countless successful Catholic University graduates, and the everyday person that's just in their community, being who they are, making an impact, that doesn't make the headlines. So I think it's a place that I want to make sure this place isn't a hidden jewel. I want to make sure it is a known, a known place, right? A place that, achieves the national recognition that it, deserves for its importance in the mission of the Catholic Church, its importance in the students that we deliver to society, its importance in the academic rigor and research that we do now that we're an R1 university, which is a very limited, set of universities that have the R1 designation for research. In the PhDs, the doctorates that we put out, the collaborations that we have with NASA and other agencies and institutions. So I think this place has immense potential. We're focused on realizing that potential, and I wanted to do my little bit, to help this be an amazing institution that, that our son, my niece, others, yourself, will be proud of for many years to come.
That's well said, and we're grateful for it. All of the alum, I speak for them right now. So you mentioned the word legacy earlier in passing, and maybe if you wouldn't mind giving some thought, putting some words behind, what does that mean to you? And we haven't talked as much about your professional background, but if that's something you care to comment, and you work at Oracle, you've had a long, very successful career at Oracle. Obviously, you're doing great work here with your fellow trustees at Catholic University. What type of legacies are you looking to leave in the various entities that you work?
Well, I think it's it's such a multidimensional question.
Yeah.
You get to my age, you start reflecting on those sorts of things, and they're difficult they're difficult to answer in some ways. But I think you look back, all of us are, we were once children. You have hopes and dreams, desires. You come from, a family. That family can be comprised of many different things. You could be raised by your parents. You're blessed to do so. Maybe you're single parent. Maybe your grandparents. Who knows? But we all sort of come from something, and I think we have we form ourselves in kind of these fundamentals of who we are. And what do we stand for, and what are we, all about? And, I came from a military upbringing. It was, salute and execute, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And it was very much, our home, my childhood home, was about action and results, and that's been a good fit for me. I mean, just in my own journey is action and results and continuous improvement. And I found that works. That's been very much a match for me in my professional career at Oracle. It is very much action oriented. It's results oriented, focused on outcomes, and then focused on continuous improvement. How can we do better? And how can we do better? And sometimes when you're up against a wall, boy, you have a great year. You're like, whoa, how could we how could we do better than this? How could we possibly do that? And there are so many factors that are happening around us where there are opportunities to grow that you didn't even realize. International markets, different market segments, new products, new inventions that you hadn't even thought about. And so there are always, ways to grow. You just need to be able to capitalize on those opportunities, execute against those opportunities. And I will always say there's always a sprinkling of good luck.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. And I have been lucky, lucky more than I can, ever imagine.
I'm told the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Well, that is true. I like to say, luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparation, right? And so then you can appear to be lucky, but you've probably worked your tail off, to do so. You've had some opportunities. Sometimes you've created some opportunities. Sometimes some opportunities have sort of come your way. Sometimes you have just found those opportunities, right? And you work hard, and there is no substitute for hard work. I'm saying that to young folks all the time. All those fundamentals of working hard to drive success are important. But I think for me, it's I go back to sort of that inner kid that I that was formed and that I have always been, and it's around those fundamentals that that my mom and dad sort of imparted on me. Work hard, be an honest person, be of high integrity, do as much good as you can, and make something happen. And so I would just like to be, I'd like my legacy to be, Juan was a pretty straightforward, simple guy. Since I love sports, I tried to move the ball. I tried to advance things from point A to point B, and make some things better. And if you can leave the world a better place, I think as a Catholic, as a Christian, person, that works for me. And I think ultimately as I get older, things get simpler in many ways, because you have more clarity of your purpose, and you don't get lost in the clutter of possessions and the trappings of stuff and things, and you realize at the end of the day you're a person just like anyone else. And then it's what have you done for others with the resources that you've been blessed with, and are you leaving things better than they were when you got there? And I think it's ultimately it is that simple. Everything else is window dressing that we all experience. But I think if you can take something, if you live in a community, if you're living in an inner city, it's a tough area, and you make something happen in that location, and you influence others to do good things. You've made the place better than you found it, better than when you started. So I think here at Catholic, as I see us, continue to grow, I'm looking forward to the next baseball and softball season with our turf fields.
Yes.
We'll have turf. We'll be playing at night, and I'll think back to when I showed up, with my son, and we had grass fields, which were fine, and we had no lights to play during the day, and I always worried a little bit as a parent when it was, twilight. Can these kids still see that little baseball? It's getting dark out here. I'll look at that and say, this is better than when we got here, and there are lots of future generations of young men and women that will be able to enjoy that, and we did that. We did that together. We saw something. We thought it could be addressed with some help. We helped where we could. We all pitched in, and look what we did as a team.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that simple. And I think Catholic, I will just say in terms of giving, which is something that you and I will be talking about, there are ways to give legacy gifts, as well, where you can continue to make an impact, even when you may not physically be here, but your presence will always be here. Sadly we see the passing of the Pope just the other day, and but we're already spending time talking about his presence and what he's done and how he affected people. Whether you agree with some of the things or disagree with some of the things, he is the Pope, and is accorded and afforded that respect. And he's made a difference. He's no longer here with us, walking around on the planet Earth, but he's always going to be here with us, for many, many generations to come.
Well said. What didn't we talk about?
Thank you. It's fantastic. If you could talk about the mentorship that you mentor somebody here on campus, I think that would be, we can include that. I think it'd be really great if you have the time.
Okay, sure.
You want me to ask a question? Or,
Yeah, we'll set it up.
Yeah, that's fine. I remember.
A little space in between, then we can
Sure.
do that, and that would be it.
Cool.
Okay.
So, Juan, you mentioned maybe briefly a specific instance of an opportunity you've had to mentor one of our current students. I'd love to hear a little more about that if you're willing to share.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I am mentoring a young man, Jack. I'll leave him nameless after that.
Uh-huh.
But he is I was introduced to this student in his freshman year, and I was introduced by a fellow trustee, actually, who was rolling off, Jerry, who was rolling off the Board of Trustees. Created a connection between this young man and myself. And I didn't think that much of it. I didn't know where it would go, actually. And he reached out to me, wanted to take a meeting, all that youthful, enthusiasm that one is, I am at least, receptive to, because I love good energy. And Jack reached out, asked to take a meeting with me, and my typical answer is, look, I'll be happy to do it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a time because of my schedule. But yeah, let's get together and let's talk about what your interests are, whatever. Anyway, we had a chance to do that. He was as energetic in our discussion as he was when I sort of had my first encounter with him, and we spoke on the phone. And our relationship has developed where he's involved with a leadership program that touches our inner city kids at Catholic schools. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, one right next door here, St. Anthony's, just across the bridge from us here at Catholic. Mm-hmm. And so in our discussions, he got me involved with that program. And then he ended up setting something up to have me come out and we did it on campus. Come out to campus and meet with some of those students.
That's great.
And it was great. I mean, he did it sort of an interview format, kind of similar to this, and I had a chance to talk to, 15, 20 kids, and then be able to talk to them afterwards and even have a couple follow-ups. And so we did that, and then he's also asked me for some coaching and advice on, some of his curriculum and whether he should take a certain internship, where an internship opportunity was coming up. So I've had a chance to play a kind of an advisory role to him. And he, introduced me to this leadership community. And then actually, as being a good business student, he asked me to take on a sponsorship role for one of these schools.
Can I have his name so I can hire him?
Yeah, well, you should hire you should hire him in
His last name
advance.
offline.
You know, he asked me right for the order, and he ended up telling me about the school sponsorships. He said you did a great job speaking to the kids. I'd love to get you out to one of the schools. So he invited me out to one of the schools, got me scheduled. Got me took me out to the school, was fully engaged and kind of. I mean, he almost felt like he is a Cardinal ambassador, to go back to the program. Undoubtedly, in the way he's representing the university out in the community. So in addition to obviously his focus on his business career as part of the Bush School, and loves being there, he got me into this program. He got me out to a school, and then he just asked for the order and said, we'd like you to sponsor one of these schools, for $25,000. Would you do it? And I said, yes.
God bless him.
And I was like, boy, yes. And I think what I need to do is focus on hiring you at Oracle. So you and I might compete for who's going to hire him when he graduates. But he did that. And then he just most recently, within the last couple of days, let me know about our 4+1 MBA program at the Bush School.
Big deal.
Which being an MBA myself, unfortunately not from Catholic University, I'm excited that we're doing that, because I think that falls in line with our graduate tradition. I think it is demonstrated growth in the Bush School, which is doing so very well for us. And I'm the proud parent of a Bush School grad who is in business with our son Christian. So, it's been a delight to be able to coach this young man, and to have, again, back to those fundamentals of, our mission, encounter, right, engagement. When someone like that reaches out, they're trying to do more. They want to do more. They're looking for advice and counsel across many dimensions.
Sure.
Obviously, getting from parents, friends, someone like myself. It makes it you realize, it just reinforces why you're here and why you're a trustee and why you're trying to make a difference. And I can see this young man coming along already. I guarantee you he's going to do great things.
Sounds like it.
I guarantee you, whether he ends up doing this or whatever, he's passionate, he's motivated, he's not afraid to ask for the order, so to speak. And whether it's in the business career or otherwise, it's just the continued product that I see coming out of Catholic University that makes me so very proud.
I love hearing it. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.